All right, let's get right into it. There is no topic right now that's creating more buzz, frankly, more anxiety in the real estate world than artificial intelligence. It's the huge elephant in every single brokerage meeting. It's the ghost in the machine of every CRM, and it is absolutely the subject of countless conversations among agents, just wondering what in the world is going to happen next. For years, right, we've talked about disruption from iBuyers, from the big portals, from all kinds of discount brokerages. But this feels different. It feels way more fundamental. So today, we're going to cut through all that noise, all the hype, and the fear to get to the absolute heart of what's really happening with AI and the future of real estate. And this is always where the conversation starts, isn't it? It's the big, scary question that gets all the headlines. It seems pretty simple. Will a machine, a really sophisticated algorithm, end up taking the job of a human professional? It's this all or nothing question that frames this whole technological revolution as a simple swap, a zero-sum game. For AI to win, the agent has to lose. We kind of picture this world where, a robot is showing you a home and chatbots are negotiating the contracts. But honestly, that's more of a Hollywood movie plot than the much, much more nuanced reality of what's actually going on. Because what if I told you that by asking about replacement, we're completely missing the point? The data we're about to look at and the experts who have literally seen this kind of shift happen before, they all say that question is a dangerous distraction. It's distracting us from a much deeper and much more immediate change that's already happening. You see, the real story here isn't about replacement, it's about a reckoning. It's a sorting mechanism that is going to fundamentally restructure the entire industry and totally redefine what it even means to be a real estate agent. Now, this is from a real estate consultant on Reddit. And yeah, it's designed to be a bit shocking, but there is a powerful piece of truth baked into it. The argument isn't that a robot is sitting at your next open house. No, the argument is that the basic functions of let's say a mediocre agent, pulling up basic property info, sending out those templated emails, just scheduling showings, all of that stuff has already been automated or turned into a commodity. It's basically worthless now. The industry was already super top heavy with this huge number of agents who are really struggling to provide any kind of unique value. AI didn't create this problem, it's just exposing it at a terrifying speed. And this number right here just drives that point home. A 2024 Redfin survey found that a staggering 71% of active agents closed zero homes. Not one. Just think about that for a second. This isn't some small minority. It's nearly 3/4 of all licensed agents. And here is the really crucial part. This was before tools like ChatGPT and Gemini really went mainstream for people searching for homes. So this wasn't an AI problem. This was a business model problem. It was a value proposition problem. The foundation of the industry was already incredibly shaky long before the AI earthquake really started to rumble. So, with that groundwork laid, we are about to go deep on the forces that are shaping this new world. But before we do, just a quick heads up. If you're getting value out of this analysis, please just take a second to like, comment, and subscribe. It costs you nothing, but it really does help the channel grow so we can keep making deep dives just like this one. And on that note, if you're looking for an agent who's already thinking 5 steps ahead, or if you need to protect your family's biggest asset with life insurance, the links to my team are right down in the description. We can help you anywhere in the country. All right, thank you for that. Now, let's get into the great AI divide. Okay, so if AI isn't just a simple replacement tool, then what is it? Well, the sources we're digging into suggest it's more like a sorting mechanism, a really powerful force that isn't just wiping out agents, but instead it's splitting the industry into two very different and very unequal groups. And this isn't a gentle slope, it's a massive canyon opening up. This is what we're calling the Great AI Divide. And the person who really lays this out perfectly is Alan Dalton, the former CEO of Realtor.com. Now, this is important because this is a guy who's been at the center of a huge technological shift in our industry before. He watched the internet take listings out of binders in an office and put them on a public website for everyone to see, and he saw firsthand who won and who lost in that massive transition. His argument is that history isn't just rhyming, it's repeating itself. And AI's main job, he says, is to separate the pros from the amateurs with ruthless efficiency. And this slide right here breaks down his whole idea perfectly. He sees two roads opening up. On one side, you have the transactional agent. Their main tool is generative AI. They use it for efficiency. They're asking ChatGPT to, write a luxury property description for a 4-bed, 3-bath home, or write a follow-up email sequence, or give me 10 video ideas about interest rates. And yeah, these tools make them faster, but Dalton's argument is that they also make them more and more generic, interchangeable. A nice property description is a commodity now. anyone can create one in 5 seconds. So their main focus is just doing the old stuff a little quicker. The market outcome? They become a commodity too, totally replaceable. Then you have the other path. This is the relational consultant, and their primary tool is totally different. It's analytic AI. See, they aren't just using AI to create stuff, they're using it to interpret, to analyze, to find the signal in all the noise. They're using sophisticated tools to look at migration patterns, zoning changes, school data, and economic trends to tell a client something they could never find on their own. Their focus is on delivering irreplaceable insight. And their market outcome? They become indispensable. They are the human who makes sense of all the data. And that skill is more valuable now than it has ever been. And Dalton says, I have seen this movie before. And this is really the key to his whole argument. When he was the CEO of Realtor.com, he saw this small group of agents, maybe 5 or 10%, who just went all in on the new technology. They didn't just put their listings online, they bought the premium placements, they learned how to write amazing online copy, they built systems to respond to internet leads in seconds, they invested everything into the platform and saw their business just explode 10, 20, even 50 times over. Meanwhile, the vast majority of agents, they just dabbled. They treated it like a digital newspaper ad, and they got left in the dust. He sees the exact same thing happening with AI. It's not the tech itself, but the deep strategic adoption by a small, smart group that creates this huge and probably permanent gap between the winners and the losers. Now look, this whole divide isn't just happening inside the industry. It's not just about what agents are doing. It is being massively accelerated by a huge shift on the other side of the table, the consumer. The client isn't just waiting around anymore for their agent to give them the secret keys to the MLS. No way! They are now active, AI-powered researchers, and they often show up to that first meeting knowing more than the agent they're about to interview. And this number from a 2025 Realtor.com survey should be a massive wake-up call for everybody. 82% of Americans now use AI for housing information. Let's be really clear here. This is not some little trend for tech-savvy people on the coasts. This is a mainstream American behavior. We are way past the tipping point. The whole discovery phase of buying a home, that critical time where you're learning about neighborhoods, figuring out pricing, understanding the market, that whole process is moving away from a conversation with an agent and turning into a prompt in an AI chat box. What are the best school districts in North Dallas for under 800K with a big yard? What's the 10-year appreciation for condos in downtown Austin? These are questions that machines are now answering instantly. And this chart shows us exactly where people are going. And it's a really interesting mix of social media and pure AI. YouTube is still a powerhouse, used by 73% of consumers because they're looking for visual, long-form tours of neighborhoods and what it's like to live there. But look at this. ChatGPT is right behind it at 67% and Gemini at 54%. These are not Zillow or Redfin, they are conversational AIs. And for the next generation, Gen Z, TikTok is a monster at 76%. The big takeaway here is that the consumer is piecing together their own research from a totally new set of tools, and it's all happening long before an agent ever gets a phone call. Okay, now this slide right here, this might be the single most important and maybe the most terrifying piece of data in this entire explainer. When that same survey asked people a very simple question, which source makes you feel smarter about the housing market? Human real estate agents barely, and I mean barely, beat out AI platforms. 62% for agents, 61% for AI. Just let that sink in. All the years of experience, the license, the local knowledge, the boots on the ground, all of it is currently seen by the public as being just one single percentage point more valuable than an AI. So what this means is the perceived value gap between a licensed professional with a fiduciary duty to their client and a $20 a month subscription to an AI chatbot is down to 1 point. This isn't some threat on the horizon. This is right now. This is the battlefield. If a consumer believes they can get pretty much the same level of smarts from an app as they can from a person, then the whole justification for a massive commission, tens of thousands of dollars, gets incredibly thin. This one statistic is the engine driving the entire commission compression crisis we're seeing right now. And that razor-thin value gap is exactly why delivering undeniable, indispensable expertise, the kind we talked about earlier, is no longer just a good idea. It's an absolute requirement for survival. Now, speaking of providing value, if this explainer is doing that for you, please show your support by taking a quick second to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. And if you're looking to partner with an agent who is obsessed with widening that value gap and delivering that indispensable expertise, or if you need guidance on life insurance, my team and I are ready to help. You can find all the details right down there in the description. Okay, let's look at what the agent of tomorrow actually needs to be doing. So let's pull all these threads together. We've got the great AI divide on one side, splitting the industry in two. And on the other, we have the AI empowered consumer who's armed with data and sees almost no difference in value between an agent and an app. This collision of forces brings us to our final and most important section. What does the agent of tomorrow actually look like? What is it going to take to not just survive, but actually thrive in this new world? So the agent of tomorrow isn't just dealing with AI. They're operating under immense, unprecedented pressure from all sides. The Reddit source we looked at earlier laid it out brilliantly. These three compressing forces all hitting at the same time. First, you have the transaction drought. We're seeing the fewest home sales since 1995. That means way more agents fighting over a much smaller piece of the pie. Second, the commission reset. After that huge NAR settlement, the days of a standard buyer's agent commission are over. It's all negotiation now, and the trend is clearly pointing down. And third, the force we just talked about, the AI-powered consumer, who is smarter and more skeptical than ever before. It is, and this is not an exaggeration, a perfect storm. And Alan Dalton just nails the core issue with this one powerful line. He says the problem isn't about marketing or how people see us. Real estate does not have an image problem. It has a value void. For way too long, a huge part of the industry has just been coasting, charging these huge fees for a level of service that consumers just don't see as valuable anymore. And as Dalton says, better instrument and posts or a fancier logo won't fix that. That's trying to fix an image problem. The only way to fix a value void is to fill it with actual undeniable value. So what's the blueprint? What does filling that void actually look like in practice? Well, the sources point to these four key pillars. First, you have to evolve from being a transactional agent into a lifelong advisor. Stop thinking about the next commission check and start thinking about managing your client's biggest asset for their entire life. Be their go-to person for refinancing, for remodeling advice, for property tax appeals, for buying their first rental property. Second, master data, not just listings. This goes right back to that great divide. Use analytic AI to deliver irreplaceable local wisdom. Don't just tell them what sold last month. Tell them where the city's planning to put a new park that's going to juice values by 15% in the next 5 years. Third, you have to build a compounding digital footprint with hyperlocal content that an AI can't replicate because it doesn't exist in some giant database. Create the definitive YouTube tour of every single subdivision in your town. Write the ultimate guide to the pros and cons of your city. This becomes a digital asset that works for you 24/7. And finally, you have to double down on the things that are uniquely human. AI cannot tell you that a specific street floods every time it rains hard, even if it's not in an official flood zone. It can't read a seller's body language during a tough negotiation to see their real motivation. And it sure as heck can't navigate the complex and often crazy politics of a homeowners association. This is where the human agent becomes truly indispensable. But here's the thing. Here's the critical piece that so many experienced agents just don't get. All of that amazing human expertise, all that irreplaceable local knowledge is completely 100% worthless if nobody can find you. You can be the sharpest negotiator in your city, the most knowledgeable local expert, but if your digital presence is a two-page website from 2010 and a couple of old Zillow reviews, you're invisible, you're irrelevant. In a world where the customer journey now starts with a YouTube search or a ChatGPT prompt, you have to be found in that new world. Your human expertise has to be supercharged by a modern digital strategy. And this right here, this is the bottom line. This is the single most important takeaway from everything we've talked about today. The future doesn't belong to the agents who just bury their heads in the sand and refuse to use the new tools. And it certainly doesn't belong to the transactional agents who just use AI to do the old stuff a little faster. No. The future belongs to the strategists, the advisors, the ones who use analytic AI as a tool to find deep insights, and who use generative AI to build a digital presence, a knowledge base, and a consulting practice that is so deeply rooted in local human value that AI simply cannot replicate it. They use the machine to build something the machine can't touch. And that is exactly the kind of professional that we strive to be every single day. So, before we get to our final thought, just one last time. If this breakdown was helpful and maybe gave you a clear roadmap for the future, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to help support the channel. And if you need an agent who is built for this modern market and ready to provide that indispensable value, or if you have questions about life insurance, you know where to find us. The links for my team are right there in the description. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Whether you're a consumer getting ready to buy or sell, or you're an agent trying to navigate this new world, or even just someone watching the industry, ask yourself this simple question. Is your agent, or are you, as an agent, providing real, tangible, undeniable value that a machine cannot? Because in the end, that is the only question that's going to matter. Thanks for watching.